Most e-commerce brands today still treat email like it's 2014 with spray and pray blasts or generic flows or endless discounts. It's not the way to do email, and these are the mistakes that I see repeatedly for 7 and 8 figure brands, so let's fix them. If you're an e-com founder, you're doing more than 7 figures of revenue per year, and you're not obsessed with email, then this is going to change your perspective. These mistakes that I'm about to show don't just stop you from missing out on a few extra sales. They kill your LTV, they destroy your retention, and worst of all, they make your customer feel like they're just a number to you and they don't really build a relationship. So let's get into it. The first mistake is that you're emailing everybody the same stuff. Now, you should know that you don't want to email your full list, and you want to have not only segments that you send to, but you want to change the messaging as well based on who it is that you're talking to. So I want you to imagine for a second that you're having a big family dinner, right? You've got your whole extended family. You've got your grandparents, you've got your parents, you've got your brothers and sisters, cousins, aunties, uncles. You've got some of the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren if you're lucky. You've got your friends, you've got your girlfriend, whatever. It's a table of like 30 people, right? Now imagine that you're sat next to each one of those people at some point in the night. What are you going to talk about with that person? It's unlikely that you're going to talk about work to your nephew who's a toddler, for example, or you're not going to talk about children's games or something with your grandparents, or with your parents. You're not really going to talk about gossip at work. Hopefully you get the point here. Basically, your conversations will change depending on who it is that you're talking to, and email is basically the same thing. You might end up gossiping with your parents. I don't know. It's up to you. It depends what kind of relationship you have, but the point is you change what you talk about and how you talk in some degrees as well. Maybe you talk louder when you're talking to your grandparents because they can't hear you because they're deaf, like my granddad is, or, you get the point. Things change depending on who you're talking to. So there's a report from Campaign Monitor that says that segmented campaigns generate 760% more revenue than non-segmented campaigns. That seems a little bit ridiculous, but it supports my point, so I'm going to say that it's true. So what can you do with your list? Well, the first thing that you've got your first time buyers. Those are a gold mine. So those are the people who are purchasing from you. They're convinced to become a customer, and you should be nurturing them and educating them so that they become a repeat customer. Then you've got the people who are high LTV on your list. So those are like your VIP people who are spending the most money with your brand. And funnily enough, you'll find out if you do the segmentation and check all of this, you'll find that those people who are spending the most with you usually account for like 20% of your list, and they spend a fortune with you. So you need to give them some kind of VIP access or kind of perks that reward their loyalty that other subscribers don't get, because ultimately they're the ones who are keeping your business going. And then you've got your non-customers, the people who are just window shopping, they're taking a look and they're not really buying anything. Those are the people you want to follow up with product reviews or testimonials or some kind of offer that convinces them to get over the line for the first time and become a customer. Mistake number 2 is a weak post-purchase flow. So as I mentioned, those people who've just become a customer, they're the warmest buyers or warmest people that you've got in your entire list. You want to make sure that you're nurturing them. They're at the point of highest leverage when they're excited, they're invested, they're open to being marketed to, they're open to joining you and being part of your journey with your brand. So they need more than just a generic thank you and maybe a 10% off your next order. They need a lot more than that. So don't be so transactional with it. Make sure that you're building a real post-purchase experience, not just a follow-up with thank you for your order and here's 10% off the next time. So you want to celebrate their decision, reinforce the fact they've made a good choice to join your brand. You want to reinforce the value as well in what you're selling. If you've got a best-selling product, or you've got something that a lot of people have already expressed thanks or gratitude for being able to purchase and use this product because maybe it's changed their life. Maybe it's a cream that finally fixes eczema, or it's something to help them sleep better at night, something like that. You want to reinforce that, and you want to put that front and center right after they've bought it, so that before they've even got the product, they're already excited to use it and they're already expecting those benefits and they're already buying into it more and justifying their purchasing decision with logic, which is a fantastic way to get people to continue buying your products. Another thing you can do is educate people once they've purchased your product. So if there's something that it requires a lot of setup, maybe it's something from IKEA, for example, that you need those setup instructions on how to build it. Maybe your product is similar to that, where the customer can't just pick it up and immediately know how to use it. Educate them in the post-purchase follow-up. Make sure that they know exactly how to use that product when it arrives, so there's no dilly-dallying and there's no further delayed gratification. Once they receive your product, they can just start using it as soon as possible. After that, you can recommend complementary products. So that's when you can start to layer in these different purchases that they could make and say, you bought X product, well, that goes very well with Y, and here's exactly why you should buy this product, blah, 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 whatever. And then if you want to add an offer in there, then great. It can increase your conversion rates, but long story short, you're making it relevant to what they've already purchased, so that the products that you recommend afterwards are complementary and they're not just like a blanket, here's another 10% off. They don't really perform that well because they're quite predictable and they're quite generic. But if you can line up the next best, the most logical next best product right after they've made a purchase, then it highly increases the chance they're going to convert. And then finally, ask for reviews, but make sure you're doing it at the right time. Don't ask them on day 2. Give them enough time to use your product properly. So you can see how all of this is different from just shoving another 10% discount in the face, saying, thank you for buying, here's another 10%. And that's even worse if your first offer in your welcome flow, for example, was a 10% off. They just get the same offer. It's not really exciting. They've not tried your product. Maybe they're not even sure they like your product because they haven't seen that additional reinforcement of the value and reaffirming their decision to join your brand and purchase your product, because you've not sent those emails. So don't just hit them in the face with another 10% off. Make sure you do all of those things and then provide a compelling offer as your last resort, not for the first thing to do. Third mistake is training your customers to wait for discounts. This is a detrimental thing to do to your email list. If every single email includes a sale, or you're not spacing out your discounts further enough with enough value in between, and I'm talking like weeks of value in between discounts, then you're going to diminish the value of your brand and you're going to train your customers to procrastinate and not place any order. They're just going to wait until the next discount comes. This is a tale as old as time. I've seen this so many times, and I've seen brands, unfortunately, completely destroy their brand value because all they're doing is spamming people with discounts. So don't do this. Make sure that you avoid doing that and you lead with value, and then you use the discounts for the people who don't convert from the value that you send. Mistake number 4, very common, is low deliverability. Deliverability is so boring, to be completely honest, and it's very difficult to kind of wrap your head around at the beginning, but then once you understand it, it's easy then to kind of keep it optimized moving forward. This is a sneaky one, right? It's brutal as well because you won't notice your deliverability score going down. You'll just see your open rates start to slowly drop off, click rates as well, and therefore placed order rates. And before you know it, you've got a terrible score and it takes you weeks, if not months, to build it back up. So you need to have a good strategy in place for dealing with low deliverability, and not just how to deal with it, how to prevent it and how to monitor it as well. This is a continuous process that we're doing for our clients every single day. Is before we do a send, we're checking what is the deliverability score this week. We need to make sure that we're keeping it high, and if it goes low, we need to take the necessary steps to bring it back up. I've done videos on how to improve this, so you can go and search on my channel for those. I'm not going to cover that here. And number 5 is buyer psychology. You're not using it. So most brands are writing from their point of view all the time. The worst thing that I despise is when a brand says, hello, everybody, and they address everybody as a group instead of addressing that one person that they're talking to. If somebody writes an email saying, hello, everybody, chances are I'm going to switch off, and I know that majority of other people do, because you're not talking to me, you're talking to a group, and so you're going to lose people's attention there. Other things is where your language is too focused on yourself and not the customer. So our new collection is live, or check out our summer sale. Customers don't really care unless it solves their problem or their doubt or their moment, whatever it is that's relevant to them. If you're not linking it back to that, then you're going to get mediocre results. The best emails are the ones that mirror what the customer is already thinking. So you can fix this with copy. It's pretty simple. You just want to reflect what the customer language is already telling you. So check your DMs, check your reviews that you've got online, check what people are writing in their emails and customer feedback. That's where the customer is. They're directly telling you what they appreciate and don't appreciate about your brand, and also how to talk to them and what to talk to them about. Now, if you've got a big group of people on your email list who've not made a purchase and you've sent them loads of discounts, maybe not loads, but you've sent enough hefty discounts where usually you get much higher conversion rates, the chances are that person is not going to be motivated by the price. That's not their objection. And so what you also need to do in your emails is be anticipating these objections and addressing them, so that people who don't even know they have an objection sometimes, in some cases, if you know sales psychology, then you'll know that some objections are hidden. Even the prospect themselves don't know this. So you need to address that yourself in the emails that you're writing, but you can save that really for the people who haven't converted ever, because those are the ones who still, for whatever reason, you could give them 99% off and they'd probably still, they might not buy still, so you've got to really address those objections and really call them out to be able to fix them and get somebody to convert. Finally, you can also use your copy to build emotional momentum, get people to really buy into your brand. So this also requires a little bit of creativity in the type of email content that you send, like doing teasers, for example, or reveals and then rewards afterwards, or like with Black Friday, I've seen many companies doing we've got something big coming this week, and it will work to get people's attention. We've done it ourselves and we've got great click rates and great engagement and then great sales on the actual announcement. So that kind of thing does work because we're building some kind of emotional build-up, momentum, something like that, to get people to buy into the brand. So again, leveraging some form of customer psychology. Don't ignore it because it really does make a difference. Okay, let's run it back now and recap right before we finish. So the first thing is no segmentation. You're being invisible to the people who matter because you're not getting down to the root point of what that customer is interested in. So make sure you're segmenting and not just sending the same email to different segments, but changing the email, changing the language, sometimes the design if necessary, but mainly the language to meet the customer or the prospect where they are in their buying journey. Second thing, don't have a bland post-purchase approach. This is your opportunity to convert first-time customers into repeat buyers. That's the whole point of email marketing, is to get repeat customers. So don't squander this opportunity. Test different types of content, different offers, different timing, and definitively decide what is going to convert people from first time into repeat customers. But again, you'll only know that from A/B testing different approaches and variations to your post-purchase flow. Number 3, avoid discount addiction. You're undermining your brand every time you do that. You want to savor those discounts for the times when it matter. People who've never purchased before, you can afford to be a little bit more lenient and give away discounts a bit more frequently. But for people who are customers and who have placed orders before, you don't want to discount your brand too much, because then you will become, in the customer's eyes, a discount store. So lead with brand first, lead with value, and then use the discounts for special occasions. 4, bad deliverability. There's no point in doing any of this if you're not even in the inbox. So go back to basics there. Like I say, I've got a video on it. Check it out. Build your deliverability score. If you're not at least 80 out of 100 plus, then you've got work to be done before you start working on these other areas. So check that out. And number 5 is flat messaging. This is the one that really makes the biggest difference. Once you've got all those previous 4 locked in and they're doing well, they're dialed in, they're performing, then having some kind of customer psychology approach in your copy, in your strategy, is what's going to really separate you from the brands who know how to do the basics and know how to do the kind of technical and like best practice type stuff. But this customer psychology is how you're going to separate yourself from your competitors and the people who are just following traditional playbooks and don't really have much creativity. That's where you can really shine there. And that's everything. So if you just avoid these 5 mistakes, then chances are you're going to outperform 90% of your competition just by doing the basics. So don't sleep on these things. Give them a try. It's not about fancy hooks, fancy designs. Well, they do have a part. They're not everything. It's more about respecting the inbox, speaking like a human, and building these systems that you can consistently rely on every single month without having to worry, without having to change things, and then constantly refining them from there. This is stuff we go into very in depth in this channel. So if you're new to the channel, if this is your first video that you've seen, you want to go deeper into these email concepts, and hit subscribe. There's going to be a ton more of this content for you to consume and for you to use to improve your email strategy and grow your e-commerce brand. Thank you for watching. My name is Jack Shaw. See you in the next one.